Hello, welcome back to Miss Bell's classroom. Today in class we'll be talking about similes and metaphors and the difference between the two and why you might want to use similes and metaphors. So when we think about similes and metaphors, they're just things to help your writing sound better or to help explain things better so people have a better understanding of what you're trying to say. But it definitely can make your writing seem more interesting or make more sense when you're trying to talk about things that might be complicated, or you might just want to catch your reader's attention. So what we're going to talk about first is similes, and similes compare things, but they always use the words as or like. So I'm going to write that down just to help us. So simile, and it's always going to use as or like. Okay, and metaphors also compare things, but metaphors, what they do is they say something is something. So they're not going to use as or like, they're going to say that it is, so it's more direct. So a simile might say something like, Jenna is as bright as the sun. So you're comparing those objects by using as, or you could say Jenna is like the sun. So that would be a simile. A metaphor would be saying that we are two peas in a pod. So there's no as or like, and it's saying that an item is something else, and it's more direct. So it's still going to compare things. So I'm going to read you some simile examples that you may have heard before. So the first one is strong as an ox, cute as a button, smart as a fox, thin as a toothpick, white as a ghost, fit as a fiddle, neat as a pen, proud as a peacock, ugly as a sun. So those are some examples that you may have heard in the past. But right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down some different sentences, and we're going to decide together if it's a simile or a metaphor. So the first sentence is, as slippery as an eel. Okay, so what do we think this sentence is? Do we think it's a simile or a metaphor? Yes, it is a simile. And how do you know that's a simile and not a metaphor? Okay, because it uses the word as. So, good, yeah. It's saying that they are sharing a common feature. So we're saying that the eel and slippery are common. Or that's the feature that they're sharing, like an eel. Okay, and the next one. Anne was a man-made so Anne was a man-made mountain. So, do we think that this is a simile or a metaphor? Is it saying that something is one another thing? Or is it saying that something is like something else? Yes. Yes, it is a metaphor. There is no as or like, and it's saying that something is something else. So Anne is a man-made mountain. Okay, the next one. He was a lion in a battle. So he was a lion in a battle. Okay, so this sentence says he was a lion in a battle. So what do we think this is? A simile or a metaphor? Yes. Yes, it is a metaphor because it's comparing some objects here, but it's doing it so it's more direct. There's not as or like. It's saying he was a lion in a battle. It's saying he is that. Number 4. The moon was a misty shadow. The moon was a misty shadow. So what do you think that sentence is? A simile or a metaphor? Yes. Yes, it is a metaphor. They're comparing the moon and saying that it is a misty shadow, so it's more direct. It's saying that one thing is another thing. Okay, let's do one more. Number 5, the clouds are like fluffy cotton. So, what do you think this is? A simile or a metaphor? Yes. Yes, it is a simile because it uses the word like. So it's saying that the clouds are like fluffy cotton. So they're compared because it's sharing something common, that they're both fluffy. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to start some similes and we're going to brainstorm together what we could say. So if you're ever writing similes, you could include these by thinking about these types of things. So I'm going to give us an example. So this is probably one that you've heard before. It's as good as gold. So I'm going to give you this part and we have to think about something that could fit there. So as good as gold is a simile because we're comparing two things and we used as. Okay, so now I am going to write some starters for our similes, and we're going to think of what we could put after it. Okay, so it is as heavy as. So think about stuff that might be heavy. What could we say that's heavy? And we could compare something that way. Yes. As heavy as a brick. Good. Yes. You have another idea? As heavy as a house. Could say that. Yes. As heavy as a whale. Good. Okay, let's do another one. As cold as, yes, Antarctica. Yes, so we could do as cold as Antarctica. What else could we do? This one's a common one that maybe you've heard in a song. Yes, as cold as ice. Good. But there's lots of things that you could say. So for this one, I could say the weather is as cold as ice, or the weather is as cold as Antarctica. The weather is as cold as a freezer. So that would be a simile. And it just makes the way you talk sound more interesting and your writing sound more interesting. Okay, the next one. Scary like a snake, you could say. Spider. Clown. Haunted house. Any others? Okay, let's do scary like a spider. Okay, the next one. Okay, she had skin like, yes, a lizard. Yes. Snow. Yes. A pearl. Yeah, I like that one. She had skin like a pearl. Good. Okay. Dewey was slow like he was slow like. So think about things that are slow and then we could compare him to. So what might be slow? Yes. A turtle. Anything else? Might be kind of slow. A slug. It's creative. Anything else? No? Okay. Okay, let's do slow like a turtle. Okay, any questions so far with this? Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to sort out some similes and metaphors. So I'm going to read them to you, and we're going to decide, is it a simile or a metaphor? Okay? So just before we do this, I'm going to remind you of what a simile is and what a metaphor is. So a simile is where two things are directly compared because they share a common feature, and the word as or like is used to compare the two words. And a metaphor compares two things also, but it does so more directly without using like or as. Okay, so keep that in mind as we go through these together. Okay, so the first one is, the librarian is a beast if you mess up her books. What do we think that is? Yes. Yes, it's a metaphor because they did not use like or as. And what does that mean? The librarian is a beast if you mess up her books. Does that mean she's mean? She's nice? She's friendly? What does that mean? Yes. Yeah, it means she's mean because when you think of a beast is probably a mean person, and also thinking a librarian probably doesn't want you to go mess up her books, right? Okay. The snow is a white blanket. The snow is a white blanket. So raise your hand. What do you think this is? Yes. It's not a simile. It's saying that something is the other. So it's saying that the snow is a white blanket. Yes. Yes, it is a metaphor. Okay. He is as quick as a fox. He is as quick as a fox. What would that be? Yes. Yes, it's a simile. And how did you know it was a simile? Because it used the word as. Very good. And so if you're saying that someone is as quick as a fox, you want to say that they are very, very quick. If you said he is as quick as a turtle, you would mean that they're very slow. Okay. My father was a bear last night. What would that be? Are you saying something is something else? Or are you comparing using as or like? Yes. Yes, it's a metaphor. You're saying that my father was a bear last night. Okay. As hard as nails. As hard as nails. Yes. Yes, that is a simile. Very good. His belly shook like a bowl full of jelly. What is that? Yes. It is a simile because it uses like. Very good. Thank you for explaining that. Right. Maria is a chicken. What would that be? Yes. It's not a simile, which means it's a metaphor because you're saying that she is something. You're not saying that Maria is like a chicken. You're saying she is a chicken. Okay. Her hair was a flowing golden river. Her hair was a flowing golden river. What is that? Yes. Yes, it is a metaphor. And isn't that much better than saying, oh, she has pretty hair? Makes you sound much better when you talk if you use metaphors and similes. As dry as a bone. As dry as a bone. Yes. Simile because they use as. Good. Okay. The alligator's teeth are white daggers. What is that? A simile or a metaphor? Yes. Yes, it is a metaphor. Very good, because they're saying that the alligator's teeth are white daggers. Right, so does anyone have any questions? Okay, so today your quiz will be to leave an interesting simile or metaphor in the comments if you can think of one. And I hope that you have a restful sleep. Good night.